Well, hello and welcome to this week's broadcast. I am Anne La Follette and I am a surface pattern designer and an online coach, and I'm excited to do another demo this week. And what I am actually going to do is I'm going to use one of the motifs that I created last week, and I'm going to create a very, very simple, what's called a blender print, which is a beautiful repeating pattern that's very, very wonderful because it's extremely simple and only uses one motif inside of it. So I can't wait to jump into the computer with you and show you how to do this. So let's get started. Now, to create a repeating pattern, and if you've watched my video series on this, and you can go to annelafolletteart.com to download the free video series, you can sign up for it on my website. The first step in my process is always to create what I call a bounding box. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool here over in my toolbar area, and then I'm going to click in the upper left-hand corner, and then I'm going to enter 1280 by 720. They're already entered here for me, but if they weren't, I would just type in 1280 and then go to height and put in 720 and click OK, because I want my bounding box to be the same size as my artboard in this particular example. But as I mentioned, you could really have one of any size. Now, I'm going to deselect the rectangle tool because you can see it's still kind of attached to my cursor. So again, that's V, like Victor. Now, I want to lock this bounding box so it doesn't move. I go to Object, Lock Selection. And again, I use this all the time, so I know the keyboard shortcut on my Mac is Command 2. And if you're on a PC, it would be Control 2. Now what I want to do is I've got two sprigs here. They're identical, but they're two different colors of gold. And you can see what I'm going to be building here is a really pretty pattern that is essentially super simple. Only has these two, it's basically one motif and two colors, and they're all in the same general gold tones. So the first step in the process is just to bring your motif onto above your bounding box. And you can see what happened when I clicked these guys over, that they are hiding behind it. So all I need to do is rubber band select the two of them and go to Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. You can also do that by right-clicking on your mouse and going to Arrange, Bring to Front right here. Now what I want to do is I want to create my pattern. So you can watch me do that. I'm going to take a few minutes, but I'll also put this on time lapse so that it doesn't take you too long to watch me. And then I'll come back when I get to the next part of the process, which is what I like to call my 3 golden rules. The next part in the process, which is golden rule number 1, is that anything that crosses the top of what's called your bounding box, which is this light gold color, has to get copied to the bottom. And anything that's crossing the left has to be copied over to the right. Now, this is also true if you had something along the bottom or along the right-hand side. You have to copy it in the opposite direction. And since that can get confusing, I like to keep the bottom area open and the right area open so that I don't have to keep track of moving things in both directions. So I'm going to rubber band select these items along the top, and then I'm going to right-click, go to Transform, and go to Move, and I'm moving them vertically. So I'm going to put 0 in the horizontal box, and I know that my vertical dimension is 720. That's really the height. I'm going to click in distance here to recalibrate this angle automatically pointing downwards, and then I'm going to click Copy. Then you can see we have them both along the top now and along the bottom. Now I'm going to do the same thing, and what's important for you to notice is this one crosses both along the top and along the side, so I have to grab it. But this one down here is not crossing, or maybe I can't really tell. It might be, so let's just be safe and grab it as well in case there's a teeny tiny portion that's crossing here. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to right-click, Transform, Move. This time we're going to put in 1280 as our horizontal. We're going to put 0 in the vertical box, and we're going to click in distance, and we're going to click Copy. I'm going to play around in the interior space of this to play around with what I want this to look like. And again, I'm keeping it really, really simple, but I think it would be nice, for example, to have a copy of this down here potentially, And it's even fine for these to be unevenly spaced, and it's really my design choice now. And my intent is to keep this really simple. So I'm going to move things around a bit. So there are two things I'm going to need to copy because I did cross the boundary here and here. I'm going to click on this one, right click, transform, move. Now we're moving it vertically. So 0 horizontal, 720 vertical. Click here in distance, just move your mouse over here and just click once so that it enters this same dimension and changes the angle. And then click copy. Then let's grab this guy and right click, transform, move. And since we're moving him from the bottom to the top, and again, it's vertically, so it's fine for it to be a 0, 0 in horizontal, we need to come to this 700 and put a minus sign in front of it. And let's click in distance because you see that changed the angle to go from bottom to top and then hit copy. So I may want to do a lot more work on the distribution of these elements and to move them around a bit and kind of reorient them. Some of them overlap a teeny bit, which is totally fine, but I want to move on so that we can complete this pattern and you can see the entire process. I need to unlock my bounding box by going to Object, Unlock All. And then these next steps are a little bit confusing because you can't actually see that they're happening, but you have to do them in the order that I'm going to show you without stopping. So one after the next. So this bounding box is selected, and I can tell that it's selected A because it has a blue perimeter around it, and B because I can look over here in my toolbar area and I can see that same color. So I need to copy this box, and I'm going to copy it by doing Command C on my Mac. If you're on a PC, you would do Control C. Then immediately my very next step, before I do anything else, is I'm going to move it to the back by doing Command B, like back, or you would do Control B, like back. Now you can't tell that it's moved at all. You can't tell you have a copy. You can't tell it's in the back. None of that is visible to you. But trust the process, and I'll show you a pro tip in a second. Now, the very next step, again, before I do anything else, is I have to move my cursor, this black arrow key, into my toolbar area here, and I have to click on this little square that has a red slash through it that says None. And you didn't tell that anything happened at all, but the copy that we put in the background now doesn't have a fill on it or a stroke, which is golden rule number 3. Now I'm going to open my swatches panel. I'm going to click and drag over everything that is on my artboard and even falls off onto my canvas area. And I'm now going to click and drop this into my swatches panel. See where there's a blue line and a green plus sign? I'm going to drop it in there. And then we're going to see whether the pattern worked or not by testing it. The pro tip I mentioned to you is go to Window and open up your Layers panel. And when you open up your Layers panel, you'll only see one layer to begin with, but here's one of those little arrows. You're getting familiar with these little arrows. Click it so that it opens, and now it's going to show me all of my elements. I'm going to grab this slider bar, and I want to come down to see, well, where do I have this little blue dot? The blue dot is telling me what has been selected on my artboard, which is my fill color. So that's fine. And then right below it, I need to always have my no fill, no stroke box. So I'm going to click on it over here on the right with my see the little pointy finger. And that is highlighting this, which is great. And it is, in fact, it looks like it's the colored box, but it's not. If you come all the way over here to the left and you look on the left to the fill and the stroke, there's nothing on either of them, which is great. So the key thing that I always check in my layers is I want this no stroke, no fill rectangle all the way at the bottom. Nothing can be below it. So I'm grabbing this slider and I can't go any farther. It's all the way at the bottom. And then right above it, again, if I click on it, is my box that has a fill color in it. And then everything else is up above it. So I'm going to close this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab this little hand this little hand tool, which will allow me to kind of create some new space over here on the right. I'm going to grab the rectangle tool and I'm just going to click and drag out a box of any size. This is what I like to call my tester box. Now I have to deselect the rectangle tool, which we've done before by hitting V like Victor on my keyboard. Now I'm going to open up my swatches panel and I'm going to click on this pattern to see if it fills in properly. And it does. It looks actually like it worked perfectly fine, but I always like to do one more test, which is I click on this box and then I'm going to do right click, transform, scale, and I always make sure that transform objects does not have a check mark in it. So I click on it to get rid of that check mark. And then I come up to the uniform box and I'm just going to change this maybe to, I'm actually just moving my finger on my mouse to change these numbers to go up and down. But you can also click in the box and just enter like 75%. And I'm going to click OK. That just allows me to pop back out a little bit more so that I can see if my pattern is repeating properly. And you would know if it wasn't because it would have a big white kind of a checkerboard effect. So there you have it. That is a sweet little pattern that we made just using these two motifs, tone on tone, essentially with 3 colors. I'm going to come back on screen and wrap things up. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial and that this inspires you to continue to lean into your creativity and to doodle and to bring those doodles into Adobe Illustrator and to create really pretty patterns yourself. If you share these on social media, please use the hashtag #AnneLaFolletteArt and also hashtag Anne's Universe. And if you're not in my universe, please make sure that you click the link below this video to join my private Facebook group, Anne's Art Club. That's where we share our work and we encourage each other and we continue one step at a time to move forward in our creative journey. I always like to say in closing that I am Anne La Follette, and it's never too late to create. Bye for now, and I'll see you next week. If you enjoyed this broadcast, please go to my website, ANNELAFolletteArt.com. What you see on screen is the cover image that you see as soon as you land on the website. And all the way at the bottom, you can follow me on Instagram at Anne La Follette Art. And there's a link there for you to click on. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Anne La Follette. And you can click on the subscribe button and then hit that little bell so that you're notified the next time I have a broadcast for you.